Furious Trump just caught Iranian spy at the White House. Here's what he immediately did to her. President Trump certainly has had his work cut out for him. Every which way he turns, the left is doing their best to undermine his presidency. At first, it was the Russian collusion story, fake news, and of course, the Obama holdovers in the White House. These holdovers are working hard behind the scenes to thwart Trump's presidency from being a success. This is what is referred to as the deep state, and it is not a conspiracy. Now, another treasonous scum has been revealed, and the Democrats are scrambling to explain this one. A Muslim spy was caught still working in the Trump administration, and she has a very interesting background. It appears that this particular Muslim spy is the one who brokered Obama's Iranian nuclear deal. The woman's name is Sahar Nouruzadeh, and she is an operative for the Iranian government. Nouruzadeh has gone unnoticed for some time, but not for long when conservatives took notice. You see, alarm bells began to sound after Hillary Clinton lost the election in November. Instead of this treasonous scum resigning her position in the White House, she decided to stay on. According to Conservative Review, Sahar Nouruzadeh, the Iran director for former President Obama's National Security Council, NSC, has burrowed into the government under President Trump. She's now in charge of Iran and the Persian Gulf region on the policy planning staff at the State Department. To make matters worse, Nouruzadeh is a former employee of the National Iranian American Council, NIAC, a nonprofit that is accused of being a lobbying group for the Iranian regime. NIAC's current president, Trita Parsi, has long held close relationships with top officials in the Tehran dictatorship. In February, a group of over 100 prominent Iranian dissidents called for Congress to investigate NIAC's ties to the Iranian regime. One of Nouruzadeh's primary duties under President Obama was to promote initiatives that pushed the Iran deal. As President Obama's NSC director for Iran, Nouruzadeh sat in on high-level briefings along with President Obama, former VP Joe Biden, and former Secretary of State John Kerry, as top White House staff crafted false narratives on the Iran deal to sell to the American public. According to the head of a state-run Iranian newspaper, Nouruzadeh was an essential element to pushing through the Iran deal. Editor-in-chief Ahmad Abshnas said that she opened up a direct line of communication with the Iranian president's brother. She helped clear a number of contradictions and allowed the entire endeavor to succeed, Abshnas said of her efforts. Nouruzadeh's advocacy for President Obama's directives resulted in an agreement that has done enormous damage to the security interests of the United States and its allies. Iran, the world's top sponsor of international terrorism, was gifted $150 billion for agreeing to the deal. The deal will not restrict Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. In fact, the regime in Tehran may now have the operational capacity to deploy nuclear warheads within the next decade, according to expert estimates. Towards the end of President Obama's tenure, Nouruzadeh was embedded into the State Department and for a brief time served as its Persian language spokesperson. In addition to Nouruzadeh, several other prominent Obama officials currently serve under Secretary at the State Department. A former John Kerry apprentice, Michael Ratney, occupies the Israeli-Palestinian portfolio there. Another trusted Obama aide, Yael Limpert, also serves under Tillerson on the same platform. Why President Trump did not immediately fire this woman is anyone's guess, but that is not all of it. Another Obama holdover named Yael Limpert is also still serving in the Trump administration under Tillerson. Seriously? Why aren't these people being fired and filled with people who are not traitors? These people are absolute traitors to America and need to be held accountable for their actions. Sahar Nouruzadeh worked hard with Obama to make sure that Iran would have nuclear weapons, and no one noticed her name still on the payroll. What is going on in the White House, guys? That would have been the first person voted off the island for me. But, Nouruzadeh still had a job, and who knows what information she fed to our enemies. I am glad that President Trump was able to find this scum and fire her, but how many others are still there? What do you think about this? Do you think President Trump should fire everyone and just start over? Let us know in the comments below. Breaking: 9 states on high alert after what was just spotted driving down major freeway. 9 states have been issued an urgent warning after what was spotted on a major roadway near the US-Mexico border, that took too long to get reported to residents who are at risk. Concerned passers-by called about the alarming sight spotted on Sunday, that has since disappeared, which gives authorities reason for heightened concern considering what it could potentially means. Over the last 8 years, our borders have gone unchecked and we are now facing what could be a catastrophic mistake Barack Obama made that may be too late for President Trump to fix. It is widely known that the Mexican cartels have aided Middle Easterners in sneaking across America's southern border, something that Trump is aware of and trying to tackle as one of his biggest campaign promises and priorities. Now, we are seeing the terrifying reality of what our current president warned about. It's worse than we all thought, as even the Trump administration is on high alert. On Sunday, a truck was traveling along the Mexican side of the border carrying radioactive materials before it was hijacked and stolen. The work rig was clearly marked as hauling dangerous materials, which happened to be commercial-grade X-ray machines, specifically containing iridium-192. The container filled with this radioactive material is extremely dangerous to humans and could easily be used to create a dirty bomb, leading authorities to believe the theft was intentional. Perhaps, the truck had even been followed and tracked until the perfect opportunity to hijack it presented itself. The Interior Department said in a statement the truck was stolen Sunday in Tlaquepaque, a town in Jalisco State, Fox News reported, adding that this isn't the first theft like this along our border. This is at least the 7th case of radioactive material being stolen across Mexico since 2013, according to AFP. In all instances, the materials were recovered safely. However, that has yet to be the case in this especially concerning truck hijacking. While Mexican authorities are on the job trying to locate the truck and radioactive materials, that doesn't relieve us of the fears that the wrong people are moving that container into the US in the same manner that they move narcotics in. 9 Mexican states have been put on alert for this reason, which includes states of Jalisco, Colima, Nayarit, Aguascalientes, Guanajuato, Michoacán, San Luis Potosí, Durango, and Zacatecas. National Emergency Services Director Luis Felipe Puente said on Twitter. Making matters worse, is that nobody knows the identity of those who stole it. The thieves could very well be Mexicans willing to sell it to anyone with bad intentions for a high price, like terrorists exploiting our borders, or terrorists themselves hijacked it. This incident plays directly into Trump's belief that we need a wall to defend our southern border. As we sit here in hopes that the crack squad of savvy personnel running the Mexican police can find and apprehend the people who now have the makings of a very serious bomb, our hopes are fading. The wall may have been the very thing that deterred this entire incident from happening, and it can't be built fast enough. Meanwhile, we can expect more incidents like this as terrorists and illegals quickly take advantage of what time they have left before construction starts. Muslims demand Trump do one thing for them now or they'll leave US-mass Muslim exodus coming. The world's Muslim refugees have sent President Donald Trump a stern and harsh warning. They have made it extremely clear that if the US government bans Sharia law, they will leave the United States of America for good. Yes, you read that correctly. The same people who are invading our great nation, and many other freedom-loving nations, have taken it upon themselves to make it extremely clear that they will only follow one type of law. None other than their own barbaric Sharia law. They have given the US government and President Trump an ultimatum, which if not met, will result in them packing up and leaving our great freedom-loving nation. As of late in the Netherlands, amid a stunning TV portion about a new group of Syrian vagrants, a Dutch TV columnist moved toward the Syrians subsequent to discovering that they were dozing outside in dissent of the conditions they were living in. This is not an existence when you get inside to a room without a TV. Only a bed, there is no refrigerator, no lockers, no protection, gushed an English-speaking Syrian lady with colored red hair and more pleasant garments than one may hope to see on an evacuee. We'll remain outside on the grounds that we would prefer not to eat this sustenance, and we would prefer not to remain in the room. We're fleeing from our nation as a result of the circumstance, and now we live in a correctional facility," the lady proceeded, clearly disturbed by the cutting-edge, safe living condition Gavat citizen cost. Among others interviewed, many additionally added that they wish to see the laws of their country executed into their new home. "We require Sharia law altogether for our group to develop and thrive in our new homes in Europe." The following morning, the correspondent conversed with her once more, and she stayed immovable in her dissent of such brutal living conditions. She even griped about the remittance they were accepting cordiality of the legislature of the Netherlands. She told the staggered correspondent that she thought they'd be in an ideal situation backpedaling to their Islamic State swarmed Syrian country. "Here, it is not in existence. There, we know there is a war, however here there is no life. You are staying here in prison. It's a similar circumstance, yet in Syria, you can live without a doubt. They are giving us only 10 to 12 euro, 7 days. It's not genuine," she griped. "So let me get this straight. You flee from the war into an Islamic cesspool of a nation where people are being beheaded, raped and blown up left and right. You come to our country, and if you don't get your way you pull a temper tantrum and threaten to leave if us Americans don't allow your lifestyle into our civilized culture? Really? You would think this is an outrageous demand and that all us Americans would just smile, wave and say well bye. No, don't forget we have a mental disorder in our great nation. A mental disorder which started after World War II when our institutions of higher learning were infiltrated by the communists in order to indoctrinate our youth and break us from the inside. A practice which has gotten more and more prominent over time and has now reached an all-time high where they don't even bother to hide or mask it anymore. That disorder, because it needs constant rebranding, is today being called liberalism. Led and forwarded by the so-called tolerant and pro-diversity American left. Breitbart reported. The Center for Security Policy released a poll Tuesday that should give all Americans pause. The results show that a startling number of American Muslims, our fellow citizens, agree that violence is a legitimate response to those who insult Islam. A full majority of 51% agree that Muslims in America should have the choice of being governed according to Sharia. According to the just released survey of Muslims, a majority, 51%, agree that Muslims in America should have the choice of being governed according to Sharia. When that question was put to the broader U.S. population, the overwhelming majority held that Sharia should not displace the U.S. Constitution, 86% to 2%. Even more troubling, is the fact that nearly a quarter of the Muslims polled believe that it is legitimate to use violence to punish those who give offense to Islam by, for example, portraying the Prophet Muhammad. A full 25% of those polled agreed that violence against Americans here in the United States can be justified as part of the global jihad. For those who don't know, Sharia law is nothing less than the Nazi-ification of a religion. Sharia authorizes murder against non-believers who won't convert, horrific oppression of women, the execution of gays, the extermination of Jews, and the beheading of anyone who draws Muhammad. They want to bow and give the Muslims everything they want because diversity and tolerance. Never once ever bothering to care about our very survival of our great and free nation.